Hello everyone, welcome to Tactica, Imperialis, and to today's video. Today is episode 74 of Adeptus Podcastus. Damn it, Remleiz gets the nice round number. So, joining us today is Remleiz from 40k Theories.
Good evening.
Oh god, he's in a mood. That's not good. And our guest, a regular now on the show, and someone you should be very familiar with. Ladies, gentlemen, xenos of all ages, and everything in between, I give you Snipe and Wib.
Hello.
Hello. I've got my juice box and I'm ready to go.
What do you mean in a mood?
And that was the good evening. It's just like, that's not your standard introduction.
He wants to mix it up, keep you on your toes. What's the problem?
When Remleiz does something that isn't within the standard podcast parameters, I start to panic. That's all. Because I just know what Remleiz is like sometimes. But hey, it's fine. We'll get through the show. And besides, it's a Snipe and Wib episode. Memes always abound on a Snipe and Wib episode. I'm used to it by now. So, in the news this week, aside from Apocalypse, and more Apocalypse, because we talked about that last time, we've also had a few other things coming along, like more Apocalypse. But on its heels, because Apocalypse will be out, at least I think on pre-order by the time you are watching this video, on its heels comes something a little bit less big, but in some minds probably even more hype than the Apocalypse rule set, Chaos Knights.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we saw the Chaos Knights at, I think it was Warhammer Fest, that we got the Chaos Knights reveal for the Desecrator, the Rampager, and they've been showing off some of the rules throughout the week, which I'm not an expert on Knights. I don't remember the actual Imperial Knights rules, but very much feel like the Imperial Knight rules. So they've introduced these things called Dreadblades, which are basically Chaos Free Blades, and just like their Loyalist counterparts, they get blessings and damnations as opposed to whatever they call them in the Loyalist version. So you get some nice buffs that you can roll for or pick, but then you also get some nasty debuffs that you can pick two of or roll one of, depending on how you like your Free Blade to be.
I'll be very disappointed if the Chaos Knight Codex doesn't bring back, the old epic Chaos Knights, like the Subjugator and stuff like that.
I somehow feel that it's you're probably going to be disappointed on that front, I'm afraid.
I feel like they'd have mentioned like an alternate build for the Desecrator or the Rampager kit if that were the case. I think they have got armigers. I think they're called Warhounds, the armigers, in Chaos.
So Warhound Knights and Warhound Titans, that's not going to be confusing.
It's fine. It's fine. It's like the other day when I saw a conversion where they used Goliaths from Necromunda and used a Gene Sealer Cult Goliath, and I had to constantly specify which one I was talking about when going between those. It was like, wow, this is unnecessarily confusing.
Yeah, now I know how everyone who studies science feels when we start talking about energy. Sorry, I'm in teacher mode because I've been helping out at a school all week, so I'm kind of very much in an academic brain set at the minute, which is a good thing. But
if we act naughty, are you going to use teacher voice on us?
I'm going to be put in detention. I'm going to get done again.
You can't get done again.
I can't get done again.
I was just going to make a Van Halen comment.
Right, okay, lost.
Oh, You really are young, aren't you?
I know. But yes, Chaos Knights are out next, or they're on pre-order next week, which should be nice and fun for those of you who are kind of bored of doing conversions to get Chaos Knights. You actually get your own and some unique rules on top of that. So I don't know how powerful they're going to be. I don't know whether they're going to take off. I don't know whether they'll...
There's that one weapon, I can't remember the name of it, which is like... How far is it? It's like 60-foot range.
60 inches. 60 foot would be pretty impressive.
Okay, that would be even more impressive. But yeah, like 60-inch range. It's like AP -3. It's strength 14. And it's just like, well, why don't you just literally just don't play that. Just come and punch me in the actual face. It would hurt less than being hit by one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I can top that, in the Apocalypse preview for today, they were looking at some of the Titans, and they showed off the Nemesis Warbringer Titan, which is, the one with the massive rocket cannon on its back. So the Nemesis Quake Cannon has a range of 480 inches.
Yeah, I was looking at that. Yeah. It's kind of nice because of
400, and that's 40 feet.
yeah. It was.
Who plays on a table of
I
40
want to see
feet?
someone play on a table of 45 feet just to outdo the person taking that.
They just place their
Well, there is
right
a
on the edge.
I know they're trying to do the like biggest game of Warhammer 40,000 ever, like when Apocalypse comes out, Warhammer World. So maybe they've designed this gun specifically for that
To shoot
table.
people off like tables at the other end of the gaming hall.
To be fair, I'm like 99.
love it.
I'm like 99% sure the version that they showed a picture of is the one that lives in the cabinet in the four-jawed shop at Warhammer World,
Yeah.
which is a beautiful sight to behold. The nicest little touch on that model that I'm always fascinated by when I see it in person is that there's a couple of little spotters with telescopes on the gantry underneath the big gun.
Yeah, the ones that you put 50p in and you just look at seagulls all day.
Yeah, just put an Imperial credit
Yeah.
in. And then they
One Imperial crown you can view for like 30 minutes. It's fantastic.
The Adeptus Mechanicus can build giant 50, 70 foot war machine with guns powerful enough to level cities, has to aim it with binoculars.
Yeah.
I'm just
Like, what is more Imperium than
Exactly,
that?
yeah. It's fantastic.
I'm just trying to comprehend how, when trying to play that on a tabletop, just trying to get the tape measure in.
Oh god, yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, do tape measures even go to 40
They do
feet?
not.
You'd have to probably get like 3 different tape measures and just be like, just gating other people to
what-
hold them in place.
What you have to do is you have to ransack IKEA and steal 1 million of those little paper
I
tape
can't
measures.
see an easier way of
That's
doing
the
it.
obvious only way.
Yeah. And then glue it to just like a huge stick or something.
I think
it's
on-
like the giant apocalypse version of a whippy stick.
I think realistically, it's really just that measurement is just a way of saying, I don't care how big your table is, it can still hit you.
Though, in terms of competing on that level, they also showed off the transport capacity of the Manta, which is the Tau super heavy flyer. So, the transport capacity of the Manta is 200 friendly light sept models. Light is a key word that generally refers to infantry and like that sort of thing. So, not tanks, basically. So, it will fit broadsides. It could carry, I think, 66 broadside battle suits, or 100 battle suits, or 200 dudes. And on top of that, it can carry up to 4 of Devilfishes, Hammerheads, heavy bombardment hammerheads, or fire support hammerheads in any combination. And if you have Devilfishes, they can transport models inside themselves whilst they are embarked on the Manta. So you can theoretically carry 240 fire warriors in one tank.
I'm just going to say it. They have given stats to a carry case. That's
Basically,
outrageous.
yeah.
That is so accurate. To be fair, carry case can't even fit 240 fire warriors,
Just
probably.
put a handle on it, you're done.
How much do those things cost?
They're like, I think they're over $1,000.
It's 154 power, which is the same as a Chaos Warlord Battle Titan.
I meant in terms of real money.
Yes, actually, yes. Good
So
point.
how many
how
many victory points do you get for shooting one down that's fully loaded?
Oh,
Fire warriors can be taken in teams of up to 12. So let's assume 4 transports carrying 4 teams. That's 8. Then you've got the Manta itself, and then you've got 212. 200 into 12 goes 96. 192 goes 16 times. Plus a small unit, so 17, 18, 19, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 units.
good.
Right.
At full capacity, with all units at max size.
I part of me would love to just. I mean, I guess I could go down on the day when they do the big
I
one
wanna
at
go
Warhammer
down
World
too.
to just see it, because if there's one place that someone will actually be using one of those, that might be the one place that you'll find one.
Yeah, no, I think we should go down and have like a Bugman's lunch or something, and then just sit there and in awe of that absolute unit.
Just bask in this monument to man's arrogance.
Yeah. What did you do with your week? We played the biggest game of tabletop ever.
It's all right.
We're still on
I
turn
wish I could
1.
play it. Still on turn 1 on Monday morning. Oh man, I've got to go back to the office for work. What? Can we save the game and come back later? Mate, it's the middle of turn 1 shooting phase. Why?
Yeah,
It's been 2
what do you-
weeks.
we still haven't got to the damage phase yet. Sorry, I have to.
I mean, to be fair, like,
watch the video of how Apocalypse works earlier today. So.
Oh yeah, I watched that, and I really like. I made a video on Apocalypse, but I really like what they've done with Apocalypse in terms of trying to streamline the game. And I promise viewers we won't spend too long talking about Apocalypse, since we spent like 40 minutes talking about it last episode as well.
It's all the news is really.
But the one thing that I did stuff in the How to Play video is they introduced this command range system for your warlords, which is your leader of your detachments. But if a unit is outside of command range, which for an Orc war boss is 12 inches, by the way, and takes a damage marker, just a wound, the whole unit dies if it's outside of command range.
Looks like.
Now, imagine if you're in a detachment with 180 boys, how do you get 6 blocks of boys, plus whatever units are in your detachment, within 12 inches of one dude?
Like you need a lot of war
Not
bosses.
wholly within, just within. It's just a little bit mental.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, but to me, it's all sort of abstracted, because I look at it and I go, well, we don't have the room to play that in our house. Like, we could never play a game of that size, so if we wanted to play one, we'd have to go somewhere else, but we don't have a car, so we'd have to use public transport, and it's remarkably difficult to carry apocalypse-sized armies on public transport. So, yeah, we're probably never going to play it, because we just don't have the access to that. So it's like, well, that's cool, but like it's...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate reality with Apocalypse, is just
Logistically,
the logistics of even now logistically playing the game has got easier, but you've still got to get to it, which is the problem.
I also feel, and like I don't know if this was mentioned last time, but like Apocalypse, I'm glad they've done a new rule set for Apocalypse, purely because like the old Apocalypse was really just 40k but with a few extra things, but like one of the big draws for it was that you could play with anything with like the most bizarre themed thing you wanted, because there was no real limits. But that's basically all 8th edition is anyway.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, like, in the old Apocalypse rules, because I run a Walker army, which is just literally just Space Wolf Dreadnoughts and an Imperial Knight. And...
Hang on, it's like talking to Kirioth all over again.
But yeah, and like... Yeah, I'd be able to run that in old Apocalypse rules, but then I can run it in current, like, 8th ed, so it's like...
Yeah.
I'm happy. And I've recently picked up an Iron Priest, so I can go and get, like, 2 more Dreadnoughts. Because I need 2,000 points of Dreadnoughts. I don't care what happens, I just do.
You're just at that awkward stage of how do I fill in the last 100 points?
Yeah, it's tricky. I was thinking, like...
Yeah,
like a
I get
Wolf
that.
Lord or something, just so I get to re-roll. Like,
Have you got
oh, yeah,
Bjorn
I've got
yet?
Bjorn. Bjorn is wonderful.
You've actually got the old metal Bjorn.
I've got the old metal Bjorn, so like if I have a rules disagreement, I can just put him in a sock and just belt somebody with him. He's fantastic. But yeah,
Is his full metal metal, or is he just like is it like an upgrade spruce to
No,
the old
this was
Dreadnought?
back in the day when old Dreadnoughts were metal.
yeah, he's like solid metal. Yeah,
Oh, it's
Yeah,
that old.
he's old.
It's from second ed, I believe.
He's my lovely old
Right,
boy.
that makes sense.
But
Is he
yeah,
on
I,
a square base?
No, he's on a circular one.
He
I don't think he came with a base.
He
Actually.
originally came with one of those weird bases that people would somehow bodge together from something, so it was just a weird disc of plastic covered in some hellish substance I don't want to think about, but it's dead now, so it's okay.
Yeah, we got a new one.
He's now on a real base.
Very, very fair. However, if you are like people like us who don't have cars and need public transport to get around from place to place, perhaps I could interest you in this month's White Dwarf, which has introduced some new rules for the game at the other end of the 40k size and ridiculousness scale, Kill Team. So, probably the breaking news to come out for Kill Team is Demons have a team. They are now in Kill Team. I don't exactly know how they work because I haven't got the White Dwarf yet, unfortunately. But there also is a new legendary commander, a certain Gregor. No, is his name Gregor?
Yeah.
Yes, Gregor Eisenhorn.
Greg?
It's that Greg. It's that boy.
Just coming from Greg's with a sausage roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool because we did buy the Eisenhorn model on the actual Black Library celebration. It was last year's one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We did buy it, and then it's basically been sat half painted for the last 8 months.
Yeah. Poor Greg.
Now we need to do. You need to get
actually,
the old Inquisitor model of Gregor Eisenhorn. Old Eisenhorn.
Yeah.
Didn't you get that model when I came on the Misanthropod?
Yeah, probably.
Was it? I think it was when I came on the Misanthropod, because I made the joke about Greg's and the fact that I managed to get confused when someone said they were going to Greg's, and I said, "Who's Greg?" one time. That was on your show. I remember that. So I think that was when Eisenhorn came out.
Yeah, see, when you're on the show, they talk about Greg. When I'm on the show, we're talking about Patrick Bull. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yes, and Battenberg.
What does that say about the two of us, Remleiz?
Hey, look, we always offer the same thing, which is, when you come on the Misanthropod, you can talk as much or as little about Warhammer as you want. It can be a holiday,
and if you want to talk about how Battenberg is devil bread,
or you want to talk about the testicles of various Hollywood stars, that's up to you. That's on you.
Or a definite remake with Darkwing Duck.
Yeah, exactly. Important subjects that need to be talked about. Sometimes it's a Greg's Day, sometimes it's a Paul's Day.
My episode of the Misanthropod is basically just showing how little of a life I have. Because I just talked about Warhammer.
That's fine, that's what the Misanthropod is anyway. It's just a cavalcade showcase of how little lives we have. That's
and I just talked bollocks, literally.
Yeah.
I mean, we're Warhammer players, we're not supposed to have lives.
That's absolutely true, actually.
However, coming back to White Dwarf, probably the big headline that was coming out of White Dwarf is a certain chapter is getting a index.
Oh yeah, the Thousand Suns.
You might have heard of them. We'll actually see what they say about that, because it's the Blood
I'm just going to assume if it's the background Index of Stars article, they're just going to copy and paste the one that Graham McNeil wrote back in 2003.
It's background, and it also contains some unique rules. So there's going to be rules for Gabriel Angelos as a data sheet, as well as a chapter tactic, a stratagem, and a relic for the Blood.
I still got the original Index of Stars article for them. Because it was available as a PDF you could download from Games Workshop's site back when Games Workshop was not just, a store.
I mean, this little index is written by Callum Davis, James Gallagher, and Graham McNeil. So they probably just ripped it.
I would be interested to know if the sight of Gabriel Angelos' mighty forehead and white face does -1 to leadership or something.
I was going to say his forehead counts as a monstrous creature.
I thought it'd be it adds +1 toughness or something because of how dense the bone is or something.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
Are they going to go with the ability to charge up buildings as well?
Oh god!
I actually
gracefully backflip.
Legitimately, I would love it if they worked that into the rules.
That would be pretty fun.
Well, I'm interested to see whether they lean into the Dawn of War 3 critique, because obviously Gabriel Angelos goes all the way back to Dawn of War 1, but in Dawn of War 3 he kind of went a bit
off the rails.
Let's go with. So it'll be interesting to see how much they lean into that. But if you're in the mood for some more crunchy lore in your White Dwarf, then how about learning about all the fleets from the Indomitus Crusade? So no more having to look around like we have to do for the expeditionary fleets to find out who was where leading what. They're just going to stick it in White Dwarf for the Indomitus Crusade, which makes our lives so much easier.
Well, I mean, they're offering a service.
Absolutely. There's actually plenty going on in White Dwarf this month. You've got multiplayer one-man team Underworlds games. You've got 2 AOS battle reports, as well as lore on the gods of Sigmar, and an article on how they write war scrolls. You've got, for 40k, you've got a discussion about playtesting, and a Death World conversion painting guide. We've already mentioned Eisenhorn and Demons in Kill Team. And there's some more stuff for Blackstone Fortress as well. So there's plenty going on nowadays in White Dwarf.
Oh, is the new Blackstone Fortress stuff the new... Is it a Renegade Commissar and Ogren?
There is a... I think this is a part 2 to last month's White Dwarf, but there are the new... They're called Traitor Command, I think, for Blackstone Fortress. The Grendish 82nd Regiment, with the Traitor Commissar and the Chaos Ogren, yes. And they do have rules in Fortress, so it might have something to do with that. Oh! Traitor Guardsman is a keyword now. That's interesting. So, when you buy Traitor Command for Blackstone Fortress, you'll get their 40k data sheets on top. And the Commissar's datasheet has a rule called Forwards for the Dark Gods. So you can pick a friendly Traitor Guardsman unit within 6 inches. You deal a mortal wound to it, and it gets +3 to run and charge rolls.
Interesting.
So Traitor Guard is now a keyword. I wonder.
Are you insinuating we might one day get a Lost in the Damned Army list?
I mean, they'll probably call it Traitor Guard, or probably more like Renegade Militaris or something. Who knows what they'll call it. But I would be down for a Lost in the Damned Codex when they just pull cultists out of Chaos Space Marines so they can stop spamming them.
I mean, they've done it plenty of times in the past, so it's not like it'd be... It's actually kind of weird considering how many splinter factions have become their own fully fledged things over the years, but yeah, just regular Chaos Renegades have always been, like, either in expansion things, because they're in the old Aya Terra Codex and things like that, but they've been this kind of secondary thing that Marines can sometimes take, but they could be their whole thing. You could very easily make a codex out of them.
Yeah.
I guess the challenge is how much do you steal off the Astra Militarum, which is sort of the Gene Stealer cult's problem, and then because you haven't got the Gene Stealer element, you've just got dudes who actually fight for Chaos now. How do you make them feel unique over the Guard? So you can strip out the order system, you can strip out the execution system, maybe add in a sacrifice mechanic, and instead of orders, you have like different marks and blessings going around. So I'd be interested if they do a Traitor Guard Codex. Not that we're saying they are, just it's an idea because I saw a keyword and then my brain started whirring. I'd be interested to see how they make Traitor Guard unique. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Let's get the comments involved.
Get that engagement going.
Got to encourage that viewer interaction, get that CPM up.
It's not cynical if you lampshade it.
Quite so. There's also a new spaceship in Blackstone Fortress, which adds a new support ability called the Eye of Vect. So Drukhari are now in Blackstone Fortress, sort of, as a card. So what it does is you can change one of your dice to a 6, but you have to pay a debt in order to do it. And if you don't pay the debt off by the end of the game, either by trading off your loot or taking enough damage because power from pain, you start the next expedition, the next mission, badly wounded because the Drukhari are like, you know what, you owed us, you didn't pay up.
That's pretty cool. It's an interesting way to go about it.
The funny thing is, in all Blackstone Fortress fiction, the Drukhari end up always, dying horribly.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know barely anything about Blackstone Fortress. I've never had a chance to play it or anything, so...
No, I've never played it either. I just think it's a fun
probably
mechanic.
one of the most batshit insane pieces of setting in 40k currently.
I do like how it's nice to see alien things or faction things that represent that don't represent a bigger faction. So you've got those few little alien things that are in like the base set, and like that's just nice. Because I feel that sometimes, and it makes, obviously it does make sense because of the Great Crusade and all that, but it makes the universe feel very small sometimes when it's just, well, there's humans, there's Eldar, there's Orcs, Necrons, Tau, and, oftentimes it feels like, there's a whole universe of what could be diverse and interesting things, and we don't get to see them on the tabletop, which makes sense because logistically, they've got to make a game, I understand, but it's nice to occasionally see a little bit of a representation of just the wildlife.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think part of the problem, part of the challenge of 40k is, one, of course, is the game itself and the fact that some people already accuse it of having too many books, which is arguably fair with the amount of FAQs and changes that go into it. But the other challenge is the universe itself is kind of... And I talked about this last week when we were talking about the design of the Primaris Lieutenant, or Primaris Sergeant miniature, I should say. We'll get on to Primaris Lieutenants. The Primaris Sergeant is that they haven't got as much design room to play with because the universe is sort of not written itself into a hole, but a lot more rules have been established of what the 40k universe plays by. so it doesn't have the same freedom to just add in something. Like, the return of a Man of Iron was a huge bloody deal. It was like, what? There's a Man of Iron in this game? What?
Yeah, I'm still salty about that.
See? This is exactly what I mean. People get salty when things they don't quite understand and recognise turn up. Well, actually, we understand and recognise Man of Iron perfectly, but you know what I mean.
That was some serious shade right there.
But you know what I mean? Like, Remleiz and I are relatively well versed in the lore, and we did a double take when the Men of Iron returned. So how do you think the average Tom, Dick, or Harry took it?
Lore that you could be into 40k for years and years and never encounter it because it comes up so infrequently.
I think the one time it's ever been mentioned that I knew of before Blackstone was the first Gaunt's Ghost
That's what I read about them first.
First and only.
Okay, it was also in the 3rd edition rulebook as well, and there was also a comic strip which had a whole bunch of Men of Iron against a squad of arbitrators.
Yes, but some of us aren't that old.
And also I've read Dune, where they stole it from, so...
The same with the Navigators, then.
Yeah, basically. Most of 40k stolen, it's fine.
It's fine.
It's either Judge Dredd, or Starship Troopers, or Dune, or bits of Lovecraft. It's fine.
All chucked into a blender with a huge dash of 80s.
Yes.
And then someone went, let's get rid of the 80s.
Just a few mohawks here and there.
Quite so.
A few Dayglow.
But I accidentally had a bit of a slip there. I mentioned Primaris Lieutenant. So let's get on to the Primaris Lieutenant. Was it called the Primaris Lieutenant show?
That's the thing.
Primaris Lieutenant.
I think the Primaris Lieutenant Daily, episode 723. There was an interview done between Wade Price, who can't say the word lieutenant, and Darren Latham. And Darren Latham was trying to show off all these fabulous new miniatures in the corner.
And that
like
beautiful
tanks
dreadnought
and dreadnoughts and snipers.
I'm going to add him to my ranks.
Yeah. But Mr. Price was like, it's not a Primaris Lieutenant. Nobody cares. It's not a Primaris Lieutenant. I want to know about Primaris Lieutenants. And that was sort of the idea of the video. So I encourage you to go and watch that and have another look. Or go and find someone who already reacted to it on the internet, because there'll be someone somewhere. Yeah. More Primaris stuff.
In the corner,
can't say I'm surprised.
In the corner, you can make out some interesting models.
Do any of them have melee weapons? No? Okay, don't care.
Well, I mean, the Dreadnought probably will do.
Probably.
And there's a floaty...
Probably
There's what looks like a floaty Primaris Rhino, so, you know, finally we might have something else to put Primaris in, because I don't want to buy a Repulsor.
Speaking of Primaris, sorry, I just want to bring this up briefly, even though it's not technically news related, but it is Primaris related, so it is on topic. I managed to get hold of the Silver Templars background book from the Warhammer Conquest thing. And looking at the chapter organisation for a Primaris exclusive chapter, there's a few things that confuse me. Like, one, they have a dedicated scout company, even though Shadowspear says they don't have scout companies, but you could argue this is something just unique to this chapter, fair enough. I'm more confused by the fact that in their armory they have Land Raiders.
Well, no one's allowed in them. Like, that's it.
There's like one guy who has to stand on them. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's a weird fluff act. Like fluff and crunch. It's just like, okay, that's a bit strange, but sure.
Yeah. I was hoping for a bit more uniqueness in regards to the structure of a entirely Primaris chapter, not just literally exactly the same, just with no Terminators.
Yeah, that kind of appeared sort of out of nowhere to me. I didn't know it was coming, and then I started seeing things about it online, because we cancelled Conquest back when they pulled the thing of
the art book.
Saying, we're going to charge you for a book that you haven't asked for if you don't call us up and deal with it. And I'm like, wow, that's a shady practice. Yeah, balls to you.
They should really send you an email saying, we're going to have this for next one. Do you want it? Yes or no?
If it was an opt-in thing, I'd be totally fine with it, no issue. But it's the fact you have to opt out, which is basically riding on the fact that most people probably won't, because they'll just forget, and that's just really shady to me. But yeah, we cancelled it then. But it is kind of cool to know that they are for the people that have stuck with it and are okay with that kind of thing, that they are at least doing some interesting things with it. Because I heard the art book was actually pretty good. Like, for, me complaining about it on Twitter and things. Like, I heard the people that actually got it and were like,
It's okay. I mean, it's not as good as something like, say, Visions of Heresy or anything like that. It's nowhere near that scale.
But Visions of Heresy is like the definitive art book. Short of John Blanche's original sketchbooks, Visions of Heresy is kind of the art book.
I mean, it's you get what you pay for essentially with this one. It's decent enough.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't go out your way to get it.
That's good because I wasn't.
Indeed. But that segues quite nicely into more heresy and more literature because, though it will have already sold out by now because, well, this is how these things go.
I'll let you know if I've got a copy next episode.
Yes. So The Lost and the Damned, the second book in the Siege of Terror series, is going out on its limited edition pre-order run.
I mean, it's got Beastman in the Dramatis Personae, so that's more than worth it. Yeah, that's all you need to know. It's got a Beastman in the book. That's all you need to know.
I'm sold.
And Lotara Sarin, so Rem's happy.
Good. I'm happy too.
Best girl.
I'm so far behind on the Heresy series. So far.
What book are you on?
I don't even remember anymore what the last one.
But there was this guy called Horace, and he got really angry at his dad.
It was a whole thing.
It was this thing.
Because because although I think I'm still actually the latest one I've read, I think it's still like it's not Betrayer. It was No Fear after Betrayer, or the other way around.
Oh, can't remember off the top of my head.
Whichever one of those is the latest one I read because I went back after getting to that and read a bunch of the ones that I'd missed out.
Didn't you read Descent of Angels?
I did, but we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
We don't talk about that one. No.
But I went back and read a bunch. Then, so I'm still like at this same like miles behind point. And I've not read any much 40k stuff this year. The only 40k book I actually finished reading this year was I finished reading Dawn of War. So yeah, let's just not talk about
the Goto one.
Yep.
Yeah, let's just pick a terrible.
Oh God.
Terrible book instead of a good one.
I mean, I've kept up with the lore, but the only book I think I've actually sat down and read from cover to cover is Fast Like Christ of Faith. Yes, thank you for that one, and it made my 25,000 subscriber special much, much better. But yeah, I haven't actually had a chance to sit down and read much from cover to cover, and I've also been going through a bit of a Sigmar binge.
There's so many books out.
Like the one where First Menace eats sand.
It is impossible.
I mean, Rem can read like a 4,000-page book in one day. It is known.
Yes, it's actually known.
That's actually a fact.
A very real fact.
Very real fact.
Don't listen to what he tells you. He's just modest.
He's very modest.
And I could probably read it in 2 if I had the time.
I'll say this now. I'm struggling with this David Geimer one though. It's like really like I don't have a clue what's going on. You're using a lot of overly big words for the sake of it. It's like stop it.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I do. I read a lot of David Geimer stuff for Sigmar because he writes the Ideneth stuff. He writes Hamilcar. He also writes Gotrek and Felix now. So I have read a lot of his stuff, including when Gotrek goes Super Saiyan. So yeah, I really like Gaiman's Sigmar fiction. I haven't really had a chance to read much of his 40k, so I'm going to trust Rem on that one.
Is Hamilcar the guy that yells his own name?
Yes.
Good.
He's the Stormcast who looks like a space wolf.
Yeah, I think
I like him already.
I was talking, because I couldn't remember his name, I was talking to someone yesterday about him, and I think I described him as something like a cross between the dude from Game of Thrones, the wildling with the big beard. Tormund. It's a cross between Tormund and Brock Samson from Venture Brothers. That was that's how I described him to someone.
I thought you were going to say Tormund crossed with Brock Lesnar.
Oh God.
You should know me better. I'm not going to make a wrestling reference.
I mean, the dude had his immortality stolen by possible Ikit Claw, then drop-kicked Sigmar across a room whilst he was disguised as a dwarf, and then managed to go back to the mortal realms with completely on his own unique war gear, threw away the helmet because he didn't want it, because, then ran away from his entire chamber because he was supposed to be being hunted down, and got away with it.
I've only read one thing with him, and that was one of the Black Library Celebration books, and it just happened to have a short story that he was in. And that was what I was reading it, like, trying to understand how Stormcasts work at all. And then I've got this
Probably not the best thing.
Shouting
Not
his
the
own
place
name.
to start.
Yeah, just yelling and drop kicking everyone and going.
Yeah, I know the Stormcast lore quite well, so I knew what was going on. But I stumbled across Hamilcar in a bunch of shorts in Gods and Mortals, and then I decided, okay, I've read that. And then this book that I was reading is the one that has the Cetra reference, which is just a reference. So that's why I picked up that one. So yeah, I've become quite familiar with Sir Bear Eater.
He's a strange
I just want to point out this one thing from this one particular book that really, really annoyed me. See if you can spot it. Okay, 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 4, 5.
I can't see a problem there. That sounds fine.
I forever maintain my statement that I like Black Library books, but all of them could do with one more pass through the editing.
Spicy.
Quite possibly.
Oh, you haven't heard the best part yet. According to this book, the Iron Hand's Primarch is called Ferrus Ferrus.
Oh.
Well,
Not Ferrus Manus, Ferrus Ferrus.
He's very iron.
so iron.
It's
Again, the last.
I'm not enjoying this book. I'm really not enjoying this book so far, and I'm finding so many fucking errors, and it's making me go like, oh, this isn't sure. Why did I pick this fucking book? Why did I not pick the Mephiston book instead?
That's the thing, if you're reading something and you're not enjoying it, then you notice those errors and they bother you. If you notice an error in a book you're enjoying, it's like, oh, well, that's just, something that wasn't caught, it's fine. I know what they meant,
Oh, sorry, not Ferrus Ferrus, Ferrus Phenos.
Ferrus Phenos. Oh. Kinky, I see.
I'm getting, like, bear horrible vibes from that. Just, like
Bison.
Or bison. Yeah, it's just, let's just throw a bunch of Latin.
Ratus.
I appreciate that's kind of a critique on the whole 40k setting of just, let's just throw Latin at a wall and see what sticks. But still.
It's like,
again,
I'm sorry, David. I'm trying, David. I really am. I'm sorry.
But
I like the chapter with the Farsi. I like that chapter. Just because the Kastan Jungle Fire just pulling all the pins on his grades and saying "fuck you" before he blew up.
Well, that's Predator as heck. It's just like beep.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Yep.
And as I say, the last 40k book I read was Dawn of War. So honestly, everything you're saying sounds great.
But anyway, going back to Lost and the Damned, for some reason Alfarius is here, even though he basically told Horus to fuck off in Slaves to Darkness.
Oh yeah, he did. And he's dead.
Well, it's obviously Omegon pretending to be Alfarius.
It's fine.
He got better.
Still, yeah.
It's fine.
But yes, he apparently did tell Horus to shove it.
Yeah.
And is still there.
And for all you fans of the Beast Arises series, Maximus Thane's in this book. The chapter master of the Fist Exemplar.
Who later goes on to become chapter master of the Imperial Fist and Lord Commander of the Imperium.
Yes, that's right. Which makes him a very, very old man by the time the War of the Beast turns up, considering that was like 1,500 years later.
It's fine. It's fine.
He does CrossFit. He's really healthy.
Yeah.
It's fine.
He knows that one trick.
That one trick that doctors hate him for.
Yeah.
The one that 9 out of 10 dentists 9 out of 10 dentists recommend.
Oh dear,
and also, I'm very disappointed by the fact that Gendor Scrivox in the book is like, oh no, we're not going to have any more stupid cannibal Night Lords, are we? Who's writing this one? Oh, it's Guy. Oh, fuck. It's like, as I said last time, I like Guy Haley's Blood Angels work. That's really good. His Night Lord stuff, however, is poo.
Also, can we just talk about the fact that the cover of The Lost and the Damned, you get it in its nice leather binder,
Yes.
is the World Eater symbol with cross chain axes in the back.
I would imagine that the World Eaters have got a huge role to play in this one.
I mean, I'm guessing, obviously, I think the opening to the book will be the first shot. And because obviously the article starts off on the 13th of Secundus, 30,014, yada, 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 yada. Well, that will be the opening. And I think the ending will be Angron and Khan's race to the gate. And it will focus, obviously, Angron and Sanguinius have that brief parley, before the battle begins, where Angron lays out the surrender terms and Sanguinius tells him to shove it. So I feel like, Angron will be quite important in this one.
I will find out in 8 years' time when I finally catch up.
Yeah.
And I'll find out in 2 weeks when Rem gives us all the spoilers on the next episode.
If I manage to get a copy of it.
If Rem, you have so many sources, you'll get a copy.
Also, I was very disappointed to see that this character in the Imperial Army is called Fendo and not Frodo. I was thinking, damn, we can have some halflings.
They try and be a little more subtle when they do their references these days.
Just a little. It's no Obi-Wan Sherlock Clouseau, but I mean, what is?
Who can be the man, the myth, the legend?
Is that a full roster of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11? Hey, that's 11 of the... Hang on, the High Lords weren't a thing at this point.
They technically were. They didn't actually have the full power of the current High Lords. It was just basically like an equivalent of a Senate.
I thought they were still called the Council of Terror, though.
Same thing, essentially. Members of the council were the High Lords.
Yeah, I've never seen them called the High Lords pre death of the Emperor.
I'm just more fascinated by the fact we got the head of the Ordus Hospitaller. Or Hospitalis, rather.
Yeah, the Surgeon General, Sidat Yassin Tharcher.
Tweet.
Interesting. We've got some of the Old 100, the Palace Aerial Defense Squadron, the Legio Solaria, so Segmentum Solar has its own Titan Legion. Good to know.
As to be expected, let's be honest.
But yeah, it seems like that might even be the Terran Titan Legion, which would probably be called Legio Terraria, I guess, but they can't call it Terraria because that's something else.
Legio Minecraft.
It's better than Legio Fortnite.
Oh god, yeah. Can you imagine just an Imperial Knight flossing?
Oh, Tomageddon.
I was imagining seeing a warlord doing that.
Yeah.
And that
or
was
dabbing.
Yes, a dabbing one, and then finding out their shoulders don't work like that, and their arms
then they
falling off.
explode, crew shaken.
Yeah, that's how that works.
Yep.
We can make references that the kids understand. Fortnite, yeah, that's what they're into. Yeah, that's fine.
Fortnite. It's
How you doing,
lit.
fellow kids?
Yep.
Dear.
But yes, most importantly, there's a Beast Man. That's all. That is the most important thing we need to know. There is a Beast Man. Big takeaway. There's a Beast Man, which means he's going to be a major character and he's going to do something amazing.
Yeah.
Or he's going to die in 5 minutes.
They wouldn't give him a spot on the roster then, otherwise.
He's going to be a Force Awakens Phasma, isn't he? He's going to get thrown. He's going to appear. Look, you're going to go. He's so cool, and he's going to get thrown in a garbage chute, and that's all that's going to happen.
No, he's going to get more than 2 minutes screen time.
He's going to get 3 minutes and then get thrown in the garbage chute.
Yeah,
exactly.
And he's going to say something really cool beforehand.
Yeah,
it's going to be awesome. Can't wait.
It turns out he's Malcador's son or something.
Yeah, why not?
He's not actually a beastman, he's just really ugly.
He's just really...
I mean, Malcador did have a best friend who was, half Eldari. That is canon, by the way. Winter.
What's the source on that?
Berry Dagger.
Oh. I just assumed that was just an old throwaway reference, but no, it's in Berry Dagger. Good to know.
Yeah, Winter. He's literally a clone made from half human, half Eldari DNA, taken from a dead Eldari they found in the webway, and...
Then how is he a clone?
They cloned him from the DNA of a dead Eldari they found in the webway, as I was saying before you interrupted me.
But you said it was half Eldar, so they hybridized.
Yes, they did, because the DNA was degrading over time, so they had to splice it into human DNA to make a viable clone.
So it's not a clone.
If it's half alien, half human, it's from clone DNA.
Frog DNA, and in single-sex situations, he can change sex from male to female, and therefore...
Basically, Malcador is Dr. Henry Wu. Malcador is Dr. Henry Wu.
I haven't done biology recently enough to correct you, so I'm just going to...
Basically, the Emperor asked, when it got the alien core, so what species is this? It's Velociraptor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's canon. That's cool.
It's safe to say that whenever you try and overlay real science onto 40k, all you'll get is a headache. So you just let it slide.
Yes.
Just let it go.
I mean, didn't they say in regards to Tau blood is orange because it has a high concentration of this metal, even though in real life it would actually make the blood blue or something?
Is it
or is it vice versa? Yeah, something like that.
Spiders
copper would.
loads of copper in their blood.
Yeah, spiders have copper in their blood. Yeah.
So Tower spiders confirmed. Checkmate GW.
Yeah.
Stop lying to us. We demand the truth. Get my tinfoil hat out.
Oh, by the way, it's also canon that Tau like to drink fish juice.
Fish juice.
Fish juice.
That's just the Tau accent. They all sound like Sean Connery. It's not good.
Yes, but it's also Alan Shee, so he is the Tau Sean Connery.
The thing is, when you start talking about weird things with the Tau, I always just think back to Xenology, where they have human feet, and it's just really unsettling.
That sounds horrifying.
Yeah, they don't have.
It didn't really have human feet in it. In fairness,
humanoid feet as opposed to the hooves.
It had 3 toes rather than hooves.
It was like a cartoon character. It's fine.
Yeah.
I like to argue it's just a sign of sexual dimorphism in male and female ethereals, because we haven't seen a model of a female ethereal.
True.
Only males. So it could be a sign of sexual dimorphism, we don't know.
Or,
Remleiz demands that Tau ethereals send feet pics.
It could also be that Tau don't actually have hooves, they're just very uncomfortable shoes.
That's true. It could just be part of their uniform.
Yeah.
Actually, aren't hooves a thing that grow around the toes anyway? Or am I thinking of something different?
No idea.
I don't know enough about hooves to...
I'm not a zoologist. Pass.
I don't believe so, but also now I'm having this thought of that if you chipped away the hooves on a cow, it would just have 4 human feet, and that's not an image I need in my brain.
That's not good. Don't do that.
So, Rem, since we've talked a bit about literature you're going to be reading, shall we talk about something you probably... I'm assuming you've been reading something, because you're never
A few things.
You always have a book around, so yes.
A few things, yes. I read the Lords and Tyrants anthology, I read Blood Reaver, and I read the Alan Shee short story. So you might be interested to know that Alan Shee, he went to Arthur Smolock shortly after Farsight decided to go fuck off in the Enclaves. Because the Aetherians decided to repatriate Farsight.
Yes, they wanted him dead, yes.
Yes, so Alan Shee goes to Arthur Smolock, to the Tau colony there. Anyone know about Farsight? We ain't seen him for a while. We found something under the ice, though. Oh, what's this? Oh, it's a webway gate. Oh, no, it's powering up. Oh, look, it's some Drukari. Oh, no, now we're in Kimura.
Oh.
Oh, happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
Hang on. Hang the bloody hell on a minute here.
Hold the heck up.
So, Arthur Smolock was left empty because Farsight went back to it alone after Mugalath Bay 2. So, I thought that they left it completely abandoned after the whole Dawnblade loss of the Ethereals lark.
It's described as being a very small colony akin to a frontier town.
Okay, so I'm gonna timeline this. So, Grog runs to Arthur Smolock, Shova chases him, demons happen, the orcs die, the Tau leave, the Tau come back again, Farsight gets the Dawnblade, the demons get banished, they leave a few settlers behind as they go off to reset the enclaves up properly, Farsight naffs off into hiding, Alan Shee is then sent to find Farsight, but in the last known sighting was Arthur Smolock where the Ethereals died. He goes, finds this colony, they all get swallowed up into the webway. Alan Shee escapes by nonsense.
Oh no, he hasn't escaped by the end of this story, he's still in there.
And then several hundred years later, after his hermitage, the near death of his home world, actually the second death of his home world, and then they recolonize it after they virus the Tyranids out of existence, then going and helping Shadowsun, Farsight goes back to Arthur Smolock for no known reason, and then comes back on his own. Right. Okay.
Very inconsistent.
He could have left his favourite button there or something. It's fine.
And also, Alan Shee was a very popular fighter in the gladiatorial pits, and guess what the Drukari called him? Little Blue Man.
Oh my god, that's genius.
The Dark Eldar, not poets.
Not anymore.
We don't know the Eldari word for the Tau, so...
Little Blue Man. It's easy.
Probably is, actually, if you do the direct translation.
Yeah.
They're just uniformly, the Tau is roughly translated, well, their word for Tau roughly translates to Blue Man Group. So.
It's better than
fair.
fish.
Yeah, that's fair.
Turns out Talvan means Blue Dabba D.
Fucking hell.
There are already too many Eiffel 65 references on the internet, and we've made too many of them already. Please don't add any
So what
more.
else have you been reading, Remleiz, aside from me just trying to quickly compute my brain about an ethereal that got out of Comorra?
As I said, the Lords and Tyrants anthology, which had the story of Lucius being blown up by a landmine, which we find out that his possession of someone's body takes several days. It's not immediate.
I think we knew that from his original possession, that it sort of takes a bit of time.
Yeah. It's funny that when he sees the new soul in his army, he just looks at it and goes, "What the fuck are you supposed to be? You don't look like a warrior." He looks around in the arm factory, he's like, "You took pride in this shit?"
It's like, it's my art, I'll have you know.
Hey, I laid that landmine in just the right position to blow your sorry chaos ass up. I'm going to take some damn pride in blowing you up.
Also, Imperial workers in arms factories work 18-hour shifts every day.
I am not surprised in the slightest. It's basically slavery. Next.
There was the Greater Evil with the Tau Gene Stealer cult, which has, at the very end, the Tau Gene Stealer baby, and like, oh, they grow so fast here. He's only 3 Tau Seer old. And then the other warcast's like, maybe the Imperium's got the right idea when it comes to aliens.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we should actually kill them. Yep.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Trying to think what other stories was in there. There was the founding of the Sires of the Emperor chapter, which is technically a Horus Heresy story officially, even though it's in the 40k novel, but hey. What's there? There was the Kakarodon short story Reaping Time, where they just showed up and were like, yeah, we're gonna just take everyone for slaves now. Have fun.
Good.
What else was in there? Oh yeah, a town being plagued by Necron Flayers being saved by the Death Spectres chapter, and the only reason they save some people is like, we save this woman because she'll make good breeding stock.
Right.
Oh, that's uncomfortable. That's uncomfortable.
It's like this world's being plagued by Necrons. Save the healthy ones so they can breed more healthy aspirants for us.
Is there any story in this that doesn't have an upsetting element? I know it's 40k, but yeah.
Like a deeply upsetting element, I guess, is the term.
Like a deep parallel to something really fucked up in the real world sort of thing. Like,
Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, Myths and Revenants, the AOS short sort of parallel to this that I've been reading, like almost all of them have sort of dark ending. Sort of Stormcast gets trapped in a lightning golem when he's supposed to go back to his ear, but no, gets caught in a Shaishan lightning golem. Or Wood Elf gathers up all the soul lessons in Shaish of his lost lover, and his sprite nicks one without him noticing, so he'll never get it back. Or what were the other ones? Was the Caradron with their ship invested by Skaven, where this monastic lodge they go to is actually being run by a Skaven, in secret, and amongst many, many, many other little stories like that. Although most of them have happy endings, like the Gotrek story, they kill some stuff, and Gotrek's final line is, the elf says to Gotrek, "Did you really come down into this sewer and use all of that power massacring all these Skaven to save one human child?" No. Besides, he said I left a beer up there. Come on.
good.
This is the same elf who was basically giving him enough poison to knock a giant out, and it gave him a stomachache. Gotrek is ridiculous now.
Oh, if you want an upsetting story, there's the one about the Drukhari Scourge. He gets his wings, he goes up...
No, we're not talking about Drukhari. That's just going to creep everybody out.
No, it's not creepy like that. No, he gets his wings from a homunculus. He's basically climbing up the Comoran spires to try and, test out his new wings. Along the way, he saves a baby razor wing, keeps him along, accompanies him as a little pet. At the end, it flies up to you on a flock, he flies, but a cut he suffered earlier drips down, the razor wings pick up the scent, and he gets killed by the baby he saved, but wait, it goes spearing through his eye.
Good.
It's been known to happen.
I mean,
And then at the very end, the homunculus who gave him his wings finds his dead body and is like, spare parts.
I mean, the story of the Scourge is actually quite interesting because they go to the homunculus to get their wings, and then they have to fly up the spires and get up to where the Scourges live in the upper spires of Commorragh. And basically, the rite of passage is, can you get there?
Huh.
Because it's Commorragh, it's a nightmare. So just getting up to the upper spires is a bit of a pain.
Yes. Oh, and also that story had an Archon who had a band in his called, like a musical band, which had an orc playing the harp.
Oh,
Good.
anyway, here's Wonderwall.
An orc on the harp. Yeah, an orc playing the harp, a human on the drums, and a Sylph playing a flute.
That sounds amazing. Like that sounds.
You'd think it'd be the orc on the drums or something, at least, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
They probably put him on the drums the first time and he smashed it. It was like, you know what? No, we're not giving him anything he can smash.
I would, yeah.
So let's give him a harp.
This shows my character.
You see, this has got nothing to do with 40k directly, but we recently played a gig with our band that had been on hiatus for a while, but we had like a one-off gig that we played. One of the other bands that was playing, they had a harmonica player, but he had a bandolier of harmonicas.
It was pretty rad, honestly.
Like, presumably in different keys. I don't understand how harmonicas work. They're basically wizardry. But yeah, it was just like basically this bloody bandolier of them. I'm like, do you really need that?
Just
many?
like strapped across
Evidently
him.
so.
It's like, damn.
It was an impressive thing that I didn't know existed, and now I do.
Was he hairy like Chewbacca, at least?
He was not, I'm afraid.
Ugh.
Wasted opportunity.
I know. I'll tell you what, I'll track him down and I'll tell him to grow more body hair for you, okay?
That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say to him, I'll go, Remleiz of 40k theories, and he's like, what do any of those words mean? It's like, no, just go. He wants you to grow lots of hair, and you'll go, okay, please, how did you find my house? Please leave. But at least he'll, maybe he'll think about it.
You can try. You can lead a harmonica player to water, but you can't make him inadvertently grow body hair.
Yeah.
Oh, I just remembered one of the stories that does end somewhat happily, or have a more uplifting ending, as it were. Short story, basically a Primaris apothecary confesses to a Primaris chaplain, who happens to be his blood brother. Basically it's like, I murdered a member of my squad. It's like, why did you do that? Because I had to do that in order to save this child's life. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. In a grim dark.
Basically, he left his squad mate to die in order to save the life of a child.
I think sometimes in the midst of like the wider stories, sometimes it's nice to occasionally get the hints that submarines are just like good guys.
I heard that is submarines.
Submarines are good guys. Yes, that's what I said.
The submarines.
Oh, love them.
Why hasn't anyone made that a chapter yet? The submarines.
And then you could have like aquatic themed marines. That would be really cool.
The Land Raiders are yellow.
Yes. And they've got like floaties on. You can have your scouts with floaties.
They've all got flippers.
Yeah. That sounds.
Lifeboat land speeders.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. I can't see any reason why this would be a bad thing to do.
No, this is a great thing.
Someone get on that. I'm sure it wouldn't cost much.
It's probably $5. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. 40k miniatures are pretty cheap, aren't they? Yeah, it's fine.
Probably, it's fine.
Just get a bunch of Space Marine bikers and put them on the sharks from the IDNF Deepkin range. There you go, job's done.
Oh my god!
Yes. Oh, don't try and base them.
You just reminded me
you
of the
really, you need to rebase them though. Oh, the Shanktopus is a fabulous model. I've painted one.
He's just so. Why isn't like the Shanktopus like an HQ choice in and of itself? It's amazing. It's like Sassy Nurgling.
Alternative name for the Shanktopus: Killamari.
Ooh,
nice.
That is very good.
How long have you been sat on that one?
35 seconds.
Fine.
I also happen to remember that was the name of a villain from Street Sharks.
I can't.
Oh, so it's not your creation. Fine.
awesome.
Finally, we're talking about Street Sharks. Now we have something to say. All right,
So like Shamu in episode 5.
I thought it was
Big
Slamu. Yeah, Slamu.
Big Slamu is what.
He slams people because the big whale shark.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said. You're all just really bad at hearing, so it's fine. But yeah.
Shamu's a killer whale.
The killer whale was called. Yeah.
The killer whale was called Moby Dick.
I don't.
He was, because I had him.
Okay, but we've got to bail. We've got to bail on the Street Sharks conversation. We don't know what we're talking about. We must bail before we make fools of ourselves.
Now, if we talk about biker mice from Mars...
We always do.
I got my shit together.
Let's back away from it.
No. The mice cult of Mars.
It's fine.
Okay, what about extreme dinosaurs, though?
I can't remember shit about extreme dinosaurs. Didn't one of them have a trunk?
There you go, then. Sorry. No. You've
Oh, wow.
You've
I
lost
see how it is. Not allowed to be your friend unless I know about extreme dinosaurs. I see.
You can make
How
it. You
am I
can,
still here after 74 episodes?
you can make it up to me by eating Bamberg.
Okay, I guess we're just not friends anymore. Sorry, Remleiz. That's it.
And with that...
My friendship with Remleiz has ended.
Well, that's a bit of a buzzkill if we're going... Well, we're not going to end the show with that. Right, Remleiz, I believe we have some questions from our lovely, lovely viewers.
Yes, we do. Yes. First question. When are we getting Ian Watson as a guest?
Why did I know he would go with this?
No. Oh, no.
Oh, which does remind me, Wib, when are you going to do your live stream reading of Draco?
The next time I get really, really sick and my voice becomes a horrible sewer goblin voice again.
People are going to be throwing, like, the flu at you now. You do realise that. People will be trying to infect you with, like, illnesses.
Look, we already did a stream reading some Ian Watson with Alpha and Erndil, and that was bad enough.
Enough.
That was enough.
That was enough.
Wasn't it for the Warhammer horror thing, though?
We read some of the Warhammer horror, and we also read a bit of one of the stories from... Was it Deathwing?
Oh, right,
One
okay,
of his Deathwing stories. It was the one about Melindy when she's being turned into a gene stealer, and it's really upsetting.
Thoroughly upsetting, yeah.
Does the term gussy come up?
No.
It does not.
But we didn't read that far.
Because that is not flowery enough for Mr. Watson.
That's fair. You got to be flowery about the creepy shit.
Flowery gene stealers.
Yeah.
Her flowery gene stealer pouch.
I wonder if her gene stealer, like, body
Flowers.
had boobs.
It did, yeah.
It just had, that gene stealer breasted boobs all over the ship.
Why would a gene stealer have boobs?
Because how else are you going to know it's a girl? Oh, get good, Remleiz.
They just do what a towel do and have different shaped nostrils.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard.
Boob-shaped nostrils.
It's hard for me to remember because whilst I'm pretty sure that it described it's still having them. Every other page involved describing Melindy's breasts, so I might just be projecting.
Yeah.
I'm getting this hint from someone.
So
we're getting demonetized.
So that's why, like, Ian Watson will never be a frigging guest.
Hey, come on.
I've decided.
After the stuff that we've talked about in our podcast, and they very rarely get demonetized, it's fine.
But this is on my channel, not Remleiz's, so I don't want to take the chance.
That's fair.
In fairness, Michael, I was expecting you to burst into Rule Britannia for some reason, and I don't know why.
Lay back and think of England.
No.
Keep calm and carry on, that kind of thing. Okay, next question. If you had a blank check, what would be the one army, single model, or book you'd most want to get?
Oof.
That's how Manta for you, wouldn't it?
Ooh. I mean, the thing is, like, I've kind of bought... Every time an army's come out that I've wanted, I've kind of bought it. Like, Daughters of Cain, bought it. Iden of Deepkin, bought it. Tau, bought it. Orcs, bought it. I've bounced between a lot of different army ideas. Like, I dabble with Chaos Marines, I dabble with Drakari. I've thought about doing a giant... Okay, I know what I'll go for. I would go for the Free City army. So all the terrain to support a full Free City alongside a full Free Guild regiment, as well as Devoted of Sigmar allies, Stormcast defenders, and maybe some extra like priests or necromancers on top as mercenaries. That's what I'd do. Be a sort of a mixed army of a Free City, because that's the one that costs the most money, and I've kind of done everything I want to do in 40k.
I suppose if... my answer will probably be boring, because the one thing that I know, like, of all models...
You want a Leviathan Dread?
I'm going to buy a Leviathan Dread.
You want 10,000 Leviathan Dreads?
That's something I can buy. It's expensive, but it's not outside the thing. I'd probably just get, like, a Titan.
Yeah.
I'd probably end up getting a Warhound, honestly, because Warhounds are, like, my favorite looking one. But they're just too expensive to ever get. Failing
Why not get the Titan detachment? You know, where you get 5 Titans.
Or failing that, get the, because I was looking at it earlier, I can never remember its name, but the big Mechanicus Ordinatus drill thing.
Oh, that thing.
The is it the Axeus?
Something like that. But get that, paint it yellow as if it's the mole from Thunderbirds.
Of course, it's the mole.
Well, it is the mole. It just is.
To be fair, I could see getting an AdMech army being very, very fun. Like, I do like the AdMech, I just don't like them enough that I want to collect them.
If I ever collected AdMech, I would have to not paint them red, just to stand out. I actually really like them in green. I remember just seeing someone who did them in Caliban green and going, the cloaks in that look really good. And so, like, if I ever do collect Mechanicum, that's what I do, is have them in that kind of green colour.
Yeah. I'll probably get some Skitarii, some Castellans. I don't know if I get the new tank. What are they? Is it the Cataphron? The little, like, tready servitory dudes? What's their name? I can't remember their names.
I believe.
Anyway, maybe... But yeah, I don't think I'd ever do an AdMech army, but of all the 40k armies I don't have, probably it'd be that, because I can't see myself committing to any other project in 40k right now, because I've got piles of Tower I want to do. I want to get that Dread Mob, and I want to get that Battlesuit Cadre for Apocalypse. So I've got plenty to do before I even think about new
I'm generally surprised you didn't. I'm generally surprised you didn't say you want a Tower Manta.
No, that's what you put everything in after you bought it.
Make a big diorama.
Yeah.
Get a whole bunch of Tower Mantas and make a big diorama. Just hang them on like string or something so they can fly around and go wee like a big mobile.
Sounds pretty good. Yeah, I'd probably just get. I'd probably just walk into Forge World and just go, "Yep,
one of everything, please."
Yeah, just like yes, please. And like, I mean, I love my walkers, so I'd probably just get a bunch of Titans, and like I'd get like a bunch more Imperial Knights, and I definitely want some of those Chaos Knights because I love their legs.
Yeah,
they are so cool. These little bent kind of leggies. They're just
Digidegrade.
Yes.
Yeah, they're just rad. So yeah, I'd get that, and then I'd get a Manta, so I could hang it from a string.
This is now everyone's fantasy.
Yes.
What about you, Rem? Because you don't really have the time to play, so is there any sort of faction that if you had the time you'd go for?
If I had a blank check, I would probably just get a model of every single Primarch and have them professionally painted, so I can have them all on display.
True. Oh, dang. I'm going to say that too. I'm stealing Rem's.
I was actually kind of surprised.
That's a
when
good
we went
shout.
Because we went to Warhammer World like 2 days ago. And they had a couple of the Primarch models that were just left out, and they were like, yeah, it's fine, you can pick them up and have a look, which is kind of nice, because there's some, like
Lehman Russ's I didn't really like the look of, but like actually being able to hold it and have a look at it, I actually like it a hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
I'd still green stuff some sideburns.
But it's Lehman Russ.
Yeah. He's the bad boy wolf daddy. He's awesome.
But his model's really wonkily balanced and it cannot be photographed from any angle where it doesn't look awkward.
Apparently.
Yeah, I showed it to one of my Space Wolf friends about when I was looking at getting my Magnus, about getting the Magnus Rust diorama. And he said, and to which he said, no, Rust looks terrible. And he's a Space Wolf player. So just like, fair enough, I'm just going to get Magnus then. Bye.
Yeah, no, but I will say, in person, it does look quite a bit better.
It's still a little bit jank.
It's still a bit jank,
It is a lot better than I've seen in pictures.
Is he as jank, though, as his original Rogue Trader model, though?
I actually have that somewhere, and that is the jankiest model I own.
That's on the possibilities of just running it as a Wolf Lord with the last 100 points of your Walker army.
That's what I think I'm gonna do. Just have old Lehman Russ just hanging.
Lemon Russ.
Yeah. Well, he's smaller than Lehman Russ, so this is Lemon Russ.
Yeah, it's Lemon Russ. It's fine.
His middle name's Fresh.
Yes.
But at least he's not on. At least he hasn't got little, baby booster shoes like Ragnar Blackmane's model has.
Oh, yeah. God.
The model that will not die.
Sad.
Yeah, we desperately need new models for a whole bunch of old people. But anyway.
But I was looking at the Dante model the other day as well, and I always forget how old that one is, because you look at it from the front on and it actually looks okay.
1996.
It looks okay. The only real
that model is as old as me.
Yeah, the only real tell of exactly how old it is when you look at the jump pack and it's got that slightly bulbous thing that the older versions of the modern junk pack look like,
Yep.
And that's like really the only major tell of exactly how old it is.
It's a bit small as well, as it, I think, compared to a lot of like Marines now. But
not as small as the Ragnar model, though. I think that was 1993.
Oh, he's small. He is small.
Is that the oldest model that is still like current?
I think it's actually the Rune Priest Terminator, because I think that's actually a Rogue Trader era model.
Yeah, I feel like we've had this.
They still make that, don't they? Yeah, I always forget that one still exists.
Yeah, I feel like we've had this before of like different things, and I think there's an old Orc Shaman. I don't know how old it is, but it's an old Metal Orc Shaman, which is still used as a miniature in the new Bone Splitters, which is I've got one actually. It's like
is it the one who looks really sad?
No, he's the one who's got like a massive skull on his head and has a big bone staff in one hand and just like pointing with a finger in the other. He's jumping up on one leg. I don't know how old it is, but because it's metal, it's like I feel like it's been around for yonks, but it also kind of looks okay for an orc. So I don't know. Let me see if I can find it for a minute. You guys keep talking. Maybe asking you a question.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like the whole thing of like some of these models, how long they've been around. Because I mean, I've the last squad I finished painting was actually a complete Rogue Trader era squad. And when you paint them like in modern kind of colours, they look okay. Like they're not super bad at it and that kind of thing, but some of them look so bad. Like that Rune Priest that's still around looks like a Rogue Trader miniature. Like there's no ambiguity about it.
No.
It just looks old and kind of bad comparatively. Isn't it still on a 25mm base as well?
Oh, Lord.
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's also got the oversized bulbous head as well.
Yeah.
It's the War Dot. Right.
War Dot. But it is just fascinating how there's just a handful of miniatures that have been around for like 30 years and just for some reason they've just never got rid of them. Especially when there's some of the models that look way better than some of them that have had multiple iterations or just were discontinued years ago. I would just be very curious to know what the decision making is of like some of the older models, what they keep around and what they don't. I presume it's on sales.
I think they're in the process of upgrading them anyway, purely on the basis that, well, we had the new Khan the Betrayer, we had the new Araman, we now had the new Abaddon.
And Typhus.
And Typhus, yep. Even though the original Typhus was like a 3rd edition model, but
and
fuck
much
that.
better. Still don't like
Typhus. We still need a new Fabius Bile.
Lucius.
That's a 2nd edition. Yeah, fuck Lucius though. He's a 3rd edition.
Yes,
he can wait.
I mean, yes, but
his model was 3rd edition. His can wait. Fabius is 2nd edition. He needs some upgrade more.
When was Mephistons?
A 2nd.
2nd ed as well, yeah.
I'm trying to think now.
Mephiston, Corbulo, Ragnar.
What about old Calgar, like Power Armor Calgar?
That was 2nd edition as well.
A lot of the old ones, like...
but again, Calgar had the upgrade with the Primaris model, so...
Oh yeah, but he had the Armor of Antilochus as well, so like, he's been around for a while anyway, in a newer form.
Yeah. I would be intrigued to see if the reason why we've not had a new Ragnar is because they're going to Primaris him.
I wonder.
I thought no one buys the model anymore. It's like, no point.
I think like of all the people that they could Primarisize, it would be, as much as he's old and would probably die doing it, would be Dante.
Yeah.
Like, if there was anyone that I would have said, aside from Pedro Cantor, because Pedro Cantor was just obvious, and Calgar because he's an Ultramarine, I feel like Dante was one of the best bets for Primarisation, or whatever word we use to describe the crossing of the Rubicon Primaris.
Embiggen.
Make big.
Engorge.
Oh.
Make my Astartes grow.
Magic staff, etc., etc.
Hey, I made an old
That's
reference. Am I allowed
isn't it?
on the show again?
Yeah, there you go. Good work, man. Good work. You're allowed back on your own podcast.
Oi.
Now you just got to make a Zuranger reference.
That is way better than Power Rangers.
Oh, God, yeah.
So much better.
Anywho.
Swords misbehaving.
Anyways, next question.
There was debate which theme song was better, though, isn't it?
True. But, like, there's, like, an actual, like, narrative flow to the episodes and, like, an escalation, not just Monster of the Week every week.
Spliced in between episodes of Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how about this? If original Power Rangers just had the Balkan Skull exits just put in, spliced in regardless, just so
Did you know those are two longest running characters on the show?
Yep. But I think they were still in it a good few years ago. I remember seeing them in it and just going, these guys are in their 50s now. They have to, and they're still harassing friggin' fucking high school students. Like, do something. Anything.
I wonder who the 40k equivalent of Balkan Skull would be. Leave your comments below.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. How do you think a pre-heresy Imperium with all the Primarchs would do against a full Hive Fleet invasion?
They'd win.
Yeah, pretty much.
If one chapter can shove off an entire Hive Fleet, then I think the entire Legiones Astartes and the Legio Custodes and the various Titan Legions and the full Power Mechanicum and the Emperor can deal with a few Hive Fleets.
Yeah.
Not to mention the Horus Heresy era, they were a bit more technologically advanced as well.
Yes, we were not exactly fresh off the Dark Age of technology, but we still had some remnants of Archaeotech from it.
Okay. Is it possible that the Imperial Fists know about the Soul Drinker gene seed, but could afford to reject it at that point and have been since slowly removing the wrong gene seed from their ranks? I.e. every successive generation of Marines has a smaller and smaller percentage of Soul Drinker gene seed.
It's possible, but that relies on them having a stockpile of Imperial Fist gene seed that they can just tap into whenever a Soul Drinker infused person dies. Which they might have, but they've also got to then send their tithes off to the Mechanicus for storage. So, unless they have their own stocks that they keep back, and then can just afford to throw away a full healthy set of gene seed just because the Primarch's wrong, that's a lot of gene seed to throw away. That's about 160 progenoids gone. And you've got to replace
And then someone says, yeah, but it's belonged to Perturabo, though.
To which the Imperial Fists of M32 would just say, that's annoying, but needs must.
Are there any Xenos races that worship the Omnissiah, or otherwise follow the practices of the Cult Mechanicus?
Jacaro-ish?
Do they, though? Because I thought the Mechanicus didn't really like the Jacaro because they kept changing everything.
They're my best guess, is that because they're the only super technophile, Imperial-aligned aliens I know.
The only thing I can think of, other than humans, obviously, are Men of Iron. Because the one from Blackstone Fortress does mention how he met the real Omnissiah, which would suggest that he followed some form of the Cult Mechanicus.
Yeah, or at least was aware of it.
Yeah. At the very least. Should Games Workshop encourage its lore and Black Library writers and their community to be very creative for new armies and unique works instead of cookie-cutter army lore?
Look at the Idnet Deepkin and come back to me.
Well, I mean, it seems sort of obvious that it's better to be creative than not creative, so...
Yeah, there's a very loose side argument saying, but if you bend the lore too much, the community will get mad. And yes, it will, because I know this community, we all do. It gets very salty very quickly on certain matters. But at the same time, creative freedom is exceptionally important. And the more nuts you go, the more accepted it kind of just is.
There's this real problem that people have, and this is not unique to 40k community at all. This is very common amongst many fandoms, is that they treat lore as being something sacrosanct, and they don't understand that fundamentally lore exists to service a narrative or a game, and that basically any time that the game or the story needs the lore to change to make those things make sense, then they'll just do it. Lore is context, but it's not...
Yeah.
It has to be changed from time to time.
I mean, I'd say I agree with you, but also don't go full Kojima. Because...
Okay, but... just
there are levels.
Yeah, just the point that having consistency is cool, but, you know, who cares?
I mean,
like, have fun with it. Like, you know, 40k's been retconned like every other week for the last 30 years.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
fine.
Oh, it makes our lives so difficult.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do feel there is, you know, some need to have an anchor point, as it were. Like, you can't deviate too far, otherwise people won't be accepting it at all. I mean, one example that really annoys me, going to Horus Heresy lore, John Grammaticus. You know, pretty much every story he's in by Dan Abnett says, you know, he was turned into a perpetual following his death at the Battle of Anatol Hive during the Telephone Unification Wars. You know, basically the Cabal found his dead body, brought him back to life, turned into a perpetual, and now he works for them. Then Graham McNeil comes along and says, nah, he was alive in 20th century Kabul, fuck it. It's like, what the fuck?
I think part of the challenge... Sorry, go on.
Oh, there's also the problem of with something like the Warhammer continuity, of it's not like one person maintaining this. There's like hundreds of creators making little bits here and there.
It's like comic book lore.
Do you think there should be Do you think there should be like at least one or two dedicated people in the team who are just their whole job is just making sure things align and don't contradict each other to a massive extent? Like some contradiction, fine, overlook it.
The administratum. Because that's what you're basically doing, is someone to fact-check everything by reading 30 years of lore. It would be like having the administratum in Warhammer.
Well, considering that in this Iron Hands novel, the countdown goes 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 4, 5... I think they do need someone to
actually it's established in a book that was written in 1997. Don't look it up. They swapped the numbers around in M33, and you just didn't read that book.
Yeah, fake fan.
But going back to the original question about army lore, like obviously Black Library plays by a slightly different set of rules to the Codex team and the Battle Tome team, because like the Black Library team have a lot more freedom to do what they like. They pitch it, they write it, it gets written. I think you've got to encourage the Codex team to come up to try and culture those crazy ideas that lead to the Idoneth Deacons of this world.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
If the Codex team can lay out something ridiculous, because it's the first time you've ever seen it, it'll stick. Whereas if you have sort of pseudo-safe, sort of interesting lore for a faction, and then you have to trust Black Library to do something bonkers with it, people will say, well, actually, you've got to nail it down, I think, with the Codex team first, and then the Black Library orders will do the creative stuff, because it's kind of their MO. But the Codex team, I think, is where you've really got to get creative and let them have that freedom.
Funny thing is, I think... Sorry, carry on.
You basically want to let those teams have the freedom they have without being restricted. It's that thing of you use the existing law as a framework, but you don't treat it as sacrosanct. You don't treat it as this thing that is involatile.
Guidelines.
Yeah, you use it as a place to guide you to somewhere, to give you the themes and the ideas that lead you somewhere. But, you know, if you have to fudge a few points, that's fine if it gets you to a place that's more interesting than you were before, you know?
So basically, give the wheel to Jeremy Vitok. Sorry, you were going to say something, Remleiz.
Yeah, I was going to say, a lot of people don't seem to realise that the Codex team and the Black Library team, there's a lot of cross-pollination, as it were, considering there's a lot of codexes, you know, that are written by guys like Graham McNeil, Gav Thorpe, Phil Kelly, Nick Kime, Andy Hoare, Andy Chambers, etc., you know, who've all done stuff with Black Library and stuff.
But when you're working on the codices or on Warhammer Community, as I remember ADB talking about, you are playing under a much more constricted rule set, because you're not just writing a story because it's fun, you're laying the foundations that all future authors will build upon. We've seen with the Night Lords that ADB wrote the Night Lords one way, and other people have written the Night Lords a different way. Not everyone likes that different interpretation, but it's still a valid interpretation, because the Night Lords have always been a little bit ambiguous in what they became. Whereas, if you're introducing a new race, whoever writes the codex for that race lays the baseline of what every single writer afterward has to follow. So you have to you are playing by a constricted rule set, even though we want them to have that freedom to go completely bananas, so that the people who come after them can go completely bananas. It's kind of a catch-22.
I'm just reminded of the whole Necron situation. Like, okay, we've written out the Necrons. It's like, no, fuck it. Start again.
I genuinely actually, like, because I love, Third Ed era Necrons, this kind of mindless automata wave of just
Terminators,
murderous
essentially.
robots. Like, cool. I like that kind of interpretation with the Catan and everything. You know, that's fun. But like, I totally get why they changed them, because ultimately Necrons were this one thing, and that was it, really. You could play the character. Yeah, you couldn't have much character freedom. You know.
And the freedom they've given them with characters like Zandrek and Oberon, with what's his name, Orican the Diviner, not Cesarek, Illuminor Cesarek,
Brainiac,
Arakir the Traveller, Trazyn the Infinite.
Yeah, I should have Brainiac.
Quite. But yeah,
it's the same fucking character, let's be honest.
But the freedom that the Necrons have been given by that absolutely ginormous what the flip retcon is a great example of like letting the reins off and letting them go.
Yeah.
And then we get to the other retcon from Wild Rider, you know, where the pre-Necron tier and the Eldari fought together against demons of Slanesh. What?
Yeah, that was a thing.
It's fine. 40k lore is 100% consistent from start to finish. I don't know what any of you are talking about.
No, it's perfect, yeah.
It's totally fine. None of us have entire series dedicated to the fact that things change. None of us.
The more things change, the more things
change. Retcon themselves halfway through because they constantly get updated. Grumble, grumble.
Actually, I think you'll find that that's different due to the new lore. Yeah, we made this video 3 years ago. What are you talking about?
Round of applause.
I was so annoyed because I released my Ultramarines Legions lore. I wrote the script like 2 weeks in advance, put it up, edited it, uploaded it, all ready to go, and then Gilman dropped.
Oh, dude.
And I was like, like 2 days before my lore video on the Ultramarines comes out, they just drop a Gilman coming back on us.
In fairness, I can
sympathise. That's not fair.
I can sympathise because that happened like about 2 months after I did my video about is Gilman healing in stasis. It's like,
that was 2 months.
Yeah, he's back.
2 months after, 2 days before my lore video on the Primarch came out. Luckily, I did a 40-minute video on Gilman later, so it was all fine.
I mean, it's not as bad as having a video retconned, you know, about 2 hours before your video goes live.
Which one was that?
It was for the original, the pre-remaster of the Korax video.
Oh, because turn into a flock of birds.
Yeah.
See, that's why most of the stuff we make is about stuff that's like 20 years old, because it's not going to change. It's fine.
See, now watch it change. Like 2 hours before we upload the next Codex Compliant, there's going to be a massive lore change, retcon, and it's going to make us look like fools.
Oh, by the way, when are you guys going to do Diganob for Codex Compliant?
Diganobs is actually the only book from Gorka Morka we don't have. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
So I guess we'll never do it.
I think the real problem is that basically doing that is bracing yourself for how the comment section will be nothing but all caps Diganobs. Thanks, Alpha.
Yep.
Welcome to pretty much every video I do.
Yeah. Alpha is very much a mixed blessing. He's fantastic for the community. He's done so much good. But at the same time, if you publish anything on Custodians, you publish anything on
Tech Priests,
Primarchs, Gilman, Dawn,
literally any Primarch video I do is full of Primarch jokes from TTS. Like any animal video I do is like Vulcan wants to boop its snoot.
Yeah, it's a real mixed blessing. Like, Alpha, we love you. You're fantastic. Don't ever stop doing what you're doing while you enjoy it. But God, our comments just run riot when Alpha does something.
Well, pretty much anytime I do a Tau video, it's always about Kit and going, this is not fucking canon.
To be fair, I don't talk about Shadowsun, I talk about Farsight, so they haven't talked much about Farsight, so it's fine. But, yeah, the Custodian Redux video, yeah. every custodian video ever.
To be fair,
So-
if you want to know the price that Alpha pays for this, it means that whenever he appears on someone else's channel, at least 5 people in the comments go, "Hey Alpha, you should be working on TTS."
Oh yeah, that happened on.
I didn't get that actually on the show that he came on here, episode 7.
I did.
I was looking at the comments for that. There was probably the odd one, but most of it was just like, "Yay, Alpha Buser!" Probably because I think a TTS episode or podcast is like just about to come out, so maybe they sort of got off his back. But they were actually very nice, at least from the comments I saw.
Yeah, because that's a little pro tip for anyone. This is not just related to Alpha, but if you like a creator and you like their work and you leave comments saying where's the next episode or you should be working on the next episode, instead of doing that, don't. Because they're aware it's taking a while.
Looking forward to the next episode whenever you get round to doing it. Just be polite.
The creator is very aware that however something long it's taken, they're very aware of it. And
Plus, he pretty much does everything by himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
It's a long time.
I've animated, like, in a few videos, I've done TTS-like things that are, like, 5 seconds long, and I've gone, Jesus Christ, no.
I mean, to put things... I mean, you know that whole... that quick 15-second scene of the Black Templars? Didn't he say that those 15 seconds took him, like, 12 hours to animate?
Yeah, he's done things like that. They just take him so long to do.
So 12 hours for 12 seconds worth of animation.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Yep.
So to give you an idea, so instead of harassing him and asking where's the next episode, bear in mind that poor boy's got to do all that shit pretty much by himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think he's got a full-time job as well, hasn't he?
Don't know.
I don't believe so.
Yeah, he collects eggs from the Swedish forest seals, I believe.
Oh, wait, no, you're right. Yeah,
Well, he
this
does
is
have
true.
that job.
Yeah, but I thought that was more of a passion project than an actual, like, occupation.
If you do something you love, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah, but you do, though. You gotta collect eggs from the forest.
He does like the eggs.
I think you mean egg.
Egg.
Plus he's got to keep an eye out for that weirdo Herc in his dragon blade, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Before his friend, what's the command point?
I was like, after he put that up, I like messaged him and going, so we really have to know, like, how did you make yourself look so sweaty?
Coconut oil, apparently. Just slathered coconut oil all over his face.
I'm sorry, it's got very warm in here, and we've been going for an hour and a half, and apparently that's the point at which we start to go off the rails a little bit.
Yeah.
What was even the question?
Something about 40k, probably.
Something about coconut oil.
Okay.
It was about creative freedom in codex writing.
So the Adeptus Deepkin have a special rule called coconut oil, where basically they can just disengage from combat at any point because they're so slippery.
Is this Snipe the AOS lore expert coming back?
Yes.
I mean, they do have every unit in the game has the ability to retreat from close combat at the start
That's
of the next
because of
turn.
all the coconut oil.
Yeah.
So are you saying that the Adeptus Deepkin are just basically greased up blind guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, certainly
Not gonna
the
catch
Namarti
me.
are blind. All the mounts are blind, apart from the deep mares. So apart from the oil bit, because they just ride around on a magic sea conjured by their wizards.
Which is fueled by coconut oil.
Next question.
I mean, in fairness, those fish are probably covered in oil and stuff anyway, so...
Yeah.
Right.
The tower just, like,
At this
squeezing,
point,
drinking
how can
juice.
Gilman deny his father's divinity? He's met Celestine, seen various miracles, and had internal monologues in the First Dark Imperium where his only logical answer is that the Emperor is a god. Also, don't forget the time when the Saint stopped time and the Custodian saw her and recognised her as being the Emperor incarnate.
There's people that believe the Earth is flat.
Are you saying that Gilman is a flat earther?
No, I'm just saying that someone not believing something that seems to have obvious proof is like, well, yeah.
Yeah, Gilman's a flat earther. You heard
Confirmed.
it here first.
And whether someone is just very magic or a god is really a matter of perspective.
I'm just going to say he's stubborn.
Yeah.
He's a grumpy, stubborn boy.
It is illogical.
Yep, there we go.
He's basically a space Vulcan, even though he's not Vulcan, he's a Vulcan. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Vulcan as a Vulcan, though?
Oh,
I can imagine him with that haircut.
really?
The Vulcan haircut.
Why would you do that to my mind's eye? That's awful. I'm angry.
Live long and boop snoots.
Yes.
I expect a drawing of this now.
You heard him, comments.
Vulcan the
Oh, I was
Vulcan
going more towards
using
Wib anyway.
Vulcan cannon.
A Vulcan using a Vulcan cannon on the planet Vulcan.
He's playing Metal Gear Solid.
Oh,
Guess what boss
God.
fight he's doing?
Psycho Mantis.
Tweet. Okay, next question. Will we have Lord Adorable on at some point?
Is that Erndale plays
No.
Dawn? No. Sorry, I can't remember who plays Dawn.
Super Anchors, aka Admiral Kramer. So, we could ask.
He
Well,
might
Ben
say
can ask,
no. Ah! Memes!
Yeah, Rem's the one with all the connections. Pass to him.
Okay, question for Michael.
Oh no.
What were you hitting your head on? It sounded like the wall, and if so, was it a load-bearing wall?
It was a table.
Was it a load-bearing table?
I mean, it had my laptop sat on it.
Aren't all tables load-bearing?
But load-bearing walls are heretical, didn't you know, Snipe?
Oh, dang, now I do. I feel so shameful.
This was the revelation of Death of Antagonist last episode. Thanks, David Annandale.
Consider me schooled.
Now, what is more ridiculous? Load-bearing walls being heretical, Ferrus Manus eating sand, or Ferrus Manus catching a las cannon beam and crushing it in his hands?
The laws of physics get broken by Primarchs all the time. I've just kind of accepted it by now. So, definitely, the load-bearing walls are heretical.
In fact, Primarchs are made of space magic, so, like,
Yeah.
you know.
Although I do like the fact he did a Heihachi, but he should have probably caught it in his mouth and just munched it.
Yes. You're referencing...
Yeah, but it's not made of sand, though.
Like, Tekken anime, where someone throws an axe at Heihachi and
He bites it into pieces,
Yes.
yeah. Heihachi is a Primarch.
Apparently so.
Yeah, it's canon.
Vulcan with Heihachi's hair. Yeah, there we go.
Beautiful.
How about a Heihachi and a Vulcan haircut combo?
Oh god. So he's just got basically the Vulcan fringe, but with like big sticky outy parts.
Now I'm...
Like an angry pointy clown.
Okay, so Games Workshop, you can have this one for free. Make like a magnetic fridge game thing where it's just Vulcan, but with different hairstyles.
That's a really good idea. I'd buy it.
Like put Sailor Moon hairstyle on him.
Yeah.
And then like swap it out to have like an Elvis haircut. It'd be great. You'll sell literally dozens.
Dozens of them.
It'll be
So if he has a
definitely
Sailor Moon haircut, will he say, like, in the name of the Emperor, I will punish you?
Yep. And he'd do it beautifully.
Yeah, he'd do the pose and everything.
He'd do the pose. It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
So for all you artists out there,
We want Vulcan with a bunch of weird hairstyles.
Oh no. Next.
I mean, in fairness, in regards to the weird hairstyles, it seems to be accepted now by everyone that Rogal Dawn now has mutton chops, even though he doesn't officially.
He really doesn't.
But everyone accepts him having mutton chops.
Thanks, Alpha.
I do love him with mutton chops, to be fair.
I will be honest, I think he looks 100% better with them, so I'm okay with it.
I mean, at Warhammer Fest, there was a Rogal Dawn cosplayer who was really good, and he had mutton chops.
Yeah.
And he was rocking it super hard. I can't.
Oh, is that the bloke that was on the news that one time?
Yeah, he was on BBC.
Oh, dang, I didn't know that. That's
Wasn't
rad.
he the
It was
guy
like a
who
local-
posted the picture with you and was,
Yeah.
and was like, oh yeah, by the way, it's like...
I got a picture. I met the voice of Scion Matilda, and I'm like, okay, I didn't know because we didn't really speak or anything.
Yeah,
I just
he didn't say oh, but apparently he recognised you.
Yeah, that was nice. Very, very nice person. Very good.
Okay,
Good costume.
a serious question for Michael now. Do you think the Tau Empire can survive without the Ethereals?
I'll point you to the Farsight Enclaves and wait for you to get back to me. Yes, they can. Screw the Aun. Get rid of the Aun. We don't need Ethereals. The Tower will be fine without them. The Farsight Enclaves have proved it. They will be fine.
No gods, no
more
masters.
Ethereals.
No ethereal
Oh.
bastards.
No gods, no masters, just the greater good.
Beautiful.
Aside from Horus, who do you think should have been War Master?
Sang.
So did you say Sang is in Sanguinius or Shang is in Comrade Curz's Equerry?
Sang.
Okay.
Sanguinius.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was saying, Shang might be a very weird choice.
I mean, Horus literally said it should have been Sanguinius.
Yeah.
So, if you won't believe me, at least you'll believe the man who got the job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would have been relatively safe like that.
Yeah, I think pretty much a consensus here, and then everyone will be like, yeah, pick the pretty boy.
Well, the other... Okay, let's be fair to the other...
He's a mutant.
Let's pick...
He's a bird.
Let's pick...
It's
let's
a plane.
The other options then, for the sake of fairness. We could have had Gilman. No. We could have had Lion. Prick. We could have had Dawn. Nobody liked him because he was too boring and too honest. You could have had anyone on the traitor side. I'm going to go with a no.
Hey, come on. Angron
Absolutely
would have
not.
made a marvellous War Master.
Think about what you've just fucking said.
He was a tactical genius. I'm in a hole. I'll dig my way out. Like...
What about
Okay, it would have been really
Perturabo?
funny to see him as War Master.
Nobody liked him.
No one liked Dawn either, but still.
That's why Dawn didn't get the job.
I mean, in fact...
He only got it in Heresy because he was the only one left known to be alive.
And in regards to Perturabo's, command abilities, he was made Horus's official second in command.
Still didn't mean anybody liked him.
No, but you don't need anyone to like you, just need to have them follow your orders.
But would they, though?
If the Emperor put him in charge.
Charisma 1.
Yeah, but don't forget, he also beat the shit out of Demon Angron pretty much by himself, so... You can just take him in a fight anyway. People underestimate Perturabo, I feel.
Well, people just overestimate Demon Angron, who got beat by one Grey Knight with a sword.
I mean, is it any worse than Demon Fulgrim getting his ass handed to him by fucking Lorgar?
Or Nikona Sharokin.
I think there's this problem within the stories that they use demon primarchs not as to be powerful in their own rights, but as examples of other characters being cool. So
Drago.
yeah, so beating one is impressive, but it means that you don't get to see them win often enough to make them feel impressive. It's the King Ghidorah problem, where because he's
Yeah,
I
they're powerful in name alone.
I thought we were talking about the Demon Primarchs, not the Avatars of Cain.
well, okay,
the
yeah, that's a
avatars
fair
get
point.
absolutely
Yeah.
schooled at
Yeah.
every turn.
They're really powerful, you guys. I mean, you'd see if they stopped dying for 5 minutes.
I defeated
Yeah,
one with this
like-
rusty bread knife.
This one just fell
Okay,
over a
calm
curb
down.
and cracked its head open.
This one died after reading an Ian Watson novel.
That's to be fair.
That's-
This one got drowned in a slime pool, which is pretty much what happened to it when it got hit by a beast of Nurgle.
And this one got eaten.
Crunch.
Oh, and don't forget the one that got possessed by a Keeper of Secrets.
Good.
Yeah, that happened.
A shard of a god getting possessed by a demon. How ironic.
Dang.
Okay, what would you think of using the exclusive minis to make obscure characters like chapter masters of lesser chapters or Astartes from Black Library books?
The problem is, because they're obscure, people aren't going to be fussed for them. So, like, you say, oh, this is the chapter master of the Death Spectres. It wouldn't be the Death Spectres, because the Death Spectres guy's on the Shariax and dying. Better example. Chapter master of the Celestial Lions. They were the ones that got wiped out in Armageddon alongside the Black Templars and Grimaldus. Let's go with the Celestial
Isn't he
Lions.
dead?
But my point being, yes, the Celestial Lions did die, but you can do it as a historical miniature. It's a miniature from someone from the past. But whatever. You use this person, but very few people have read that book because it's obscure. So nobody cares. So nobody buys it. So you have to make it someone a little bit more mainstream. But then you have the problem of it's only around for 1 year. So you can't do it as Uriel Ventris because everyone's going to want a Uriel Ventris miniature to last forever. So you have to do it as an official release. and you can't use it in a timed release. So they're kind of stuck in the middle.
Also, like event miniatures and things, people want them, and so they want it to be something generic enough that everyone can use or have some use for.
Also that.
And yeah, as you say...
Actually, no, there is a precedent for the other way, because remember, one of the Games Day exclusive miniatures from a while ago was the special character for the Legion of the Damned. A named character for the Legion of the Damned.
Wasn't that miniature like 30 years old anyway?
Yeah, but it was still an exclusive character for that quote-unquote chapter at the time, though. So
and
it was only available for one day.
I'd say Legion of Damned have got a bit more marquee value than a lot of more obscure chapters, though.
Yeah, so on the usability thing, okay, you don't use that dude very often, but everybody has heard of the Legion of the Damned. Pretty much.
I think my Discord's playing up again.
Maybe one more question if you can just hold on for 5 more minutes?
Yeah, I should be fine for 5 more minutes, yeah. Okay, are there any stories told from the point of view of a chapter serf?
Not full stories, maybe the odd chapter.
Yeah, there's...
Though I couldn't tell you which.
I remember there's a fair few. There's like quite a few bits told from the perspective of, I forget his name, but Garrow's, like, serf. There's quite a few things told of him wandering around the ship and being like not being intimidated by like the.
Didn't he die in that book like halfway through though?
Yeah, but they at least told. So they have told little. As I was saying, like telling little bits perspective of them a little bit here and there, but
fair enough.
But yeah.
After 10,000 years of fighting, how many Astartes of the original legions do you think are really out there?
If we're counting on the loyalist side, the answer is broadly 0.
Beyond.
On the traitor side, I said broadly, I didn't say exactly. It's broadly, but not not exactly 0. And now I've got a cough. But on the traitor side, like obviously the big names are still alive, and through the powers of chaos, people can survive that long. So probably.
I think they mean more in regards to
1 in 1,000.
I think they probably mean in regards to since the whole long war's being fought, and these are still the same Marines fighting from the original 80,000 or whatever from the Horus Heresy. How many are probably roughly left of that legion per se of the original stock? I say out of 80,000, maybe 20,000.
Fallen though.
Huh?
The fallen angels.
I wasn't talking about the fallen angels.
But if we, yes, I'm still thinking to you generally. Sorry.
I think it's just one of those things where there's a lot of vagueness.
Well, there is definitely one out there. His name's Astalan. He was like one of the first 5,000 Marines ever. But yeah.
Plus it's Araman, who's like one of the oldest.
Yeah, Araman's ancient.
See, he was around during the Unification Wars.
Yeah, he was. Lost his brother to the flesh change, I think.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Sure.
It was shortly after they were inducted into the Legion.
Yes, it was. Who else is Terran? Khan was Terran. Who else? Lucius was Kamos. Bile was Terran? No, he was Europan. Bile was Europan. So
yeah, Europa and Terra.
Relatively.
Yeah, Bile was Terran. He was raised on Europa. Oh, never mind. No, I'm thinking of Europe, aren't I?
Europa's the moon of
Jupiter.
Yeah,
my bad.
Yeah. And I think there's the odd other Terran knocking around, though I cannot remember their names off the top of my head.
If he's still alive, Joe Sahar of the Night Lords, because he was Terran, and that's why pretty much none of the Atramental wanted to follow him, because he was Terran, not Nostraman.
Yeah. Erebus and Corferon are both Colchizian. Don't care about the Iron Warriors, don't remember. Death Guard. Garrow is Terran, but
he's probably dead by now.
Him. He's long dead by now, probably. I think that might actually be it. I'm struggling really in terms of names we know.
I mean, I guess really the question does it sort of implied to me that it's a bit more not necessarily just the name characters, just like line troopers who are still knocking around. So there's probably a bunch of those, but, you know.
I'm going to say yes, there is 17 exactly.
That's probably a good way out of a question like that.
That is exactly correct, and if anyone disagrees, they just haven't read the lore as well as I have, and I can't cite my source because it goes to another school.
And a dog ate it.
The dog ate it.
And on that bombshell.
And on that bouncing bombshell.
Yes, quite so. So, thank you for the questions. We will endeavour to answer a few more next time. So, leave them in the comments with the word question, as always, and we'll get to them next episode. Sorry if we didn't get to them all. We are obviously a little bit limited on time, as always. But that brings us to the end of today's edition of Adeptus Podcastus, and we do hope you have enjoyed it. Special thank you to Snipe and Wib for joining us once again and making this a 4-person show, which is always a good laugh.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
it's always awesome fun hanging out with you guys.
It is nice to come back.
Absolutely, and oh god, we're getting scarily close to 100 now.
Ooh.
Oh, okay, tell me about it. We've just done our 81st episode.
Oh, yeah.
Scary.
Yeah.
So next episode is episode 75 of Adeptus Podcastus. I don't think there's anything special planned, although I'm sure Remleiz will spring a curveball on me somewhere. But you can all look forward to that.
It'll just end up being like, hey, guess what? We got 20 people.
No, just get 75
if you tell me to turn up in the Discord like half an hour early, I'm just hanging out until like, bleep, 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 bleep. What the f is happening? If that happens, I'll just... Oh, God.
It'll be just like the 50th one, you know, a completely structured
shit show
podcast.
It was
clusterfuck.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever happens with episode 75, you will see in a couple of weeks. So, for now, thank you for watching. This has been Tactica Imperialis.
This has been Remleiz from 40k Theories.
And we've been Snipe and Wib.
Thank you very much for watching, everybody, and goodbye.